Recording in progress.
Welcome to our first episode of Dark. This is a show about black professionals, people in fields that we don't naturally think that we're in. And I am honored today for my first show to have a man that I have a lot of respect for, I have a lot of love for the past, 30-something years now?
Yeah, about 32, 33, bro.
Yeah, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to a special man. His name is Pablo Birriels. He's an author and instructor. He has a book called The Philosophy of Seven Elements, or Seven Elements of Combat. The brother is a security professional. And from this point on, I want him to talk more about what he does than I do. I do know a lot about what he does, but coming from him, it always sounds a lot more exciting. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to Master Pablo Birriels.
How you doing, bro? About me, I'm you know me, man. I'm a kind of modest dude. I did the things that I did. I actually, in the early 1980s, I graduated from Executive Security International with a certification in advanced executive protection. And I went on to do security work and protect other individuals. You know for yourself that I was in the entertainment industry, and I know not only was I in it professionally as far as being an active participant in it, I was still doing details and protecting people for record labels. So, I have a lot of connections with that. I know quite a few producers and different things like that. From my standpoint, it all started with my martial arts. Martial arts started when I was about 6 years old, which would be in 1966, to give y'all an idea how old I am. And my father was a martial artist. He was a master, man, with a machete and a banana knife, man. And his skills with a blade was out of this world. To this date, I still haven't seen anybody that could master him. You know what I mean? That could equal him. I came into contact with Hulan Willis at Virginia State, which is probably one of the oldest, if not the oldest, black karate programs in the United States, or in the history of the United States. Because, like I said, this was in the 1960s.
Could you give us more of a bit of a history about Coach Willis? Because I do know that he's actually the founder, like the foundation, what got you to actually start exploring martial arts from a free perspective.
Individual.
Yeah.
He was a unique individual. Let me tell you what he did. You won't hear this story often, but this is the truth and it's verifiable. Anybody wants to just research it. He started studying karate without a sensei, without a teacher. And he was so intelligent and so analytical about what he did till somewhere down the road, a guy came through Petersburg that was, a karate instructor. And he came in contact with Coach Willis, and he awarded him a brown belt on the spot. So he never went through all of the preliminary belts and everything. So he was a different kind of guy, man.
Yeah.
He was an innovator, and he did things a lot differently than his contemporaries did. He ended up being a very influential person. From my seniors telling me that Bruce Lee came and trained with him when he was alive and in Virginia. I know Moses Powell was his best friend, and Moses Powell sent students to Virginia to train with Coach Willis, and they trained with us as well as some of our students going and train with him. And he's this quiet guy, man. In about 1967, I might be wrong on the date, when they had the first meeting in California to try to get organized in the United States on what they were going to do with martial arts and how they was going to regulate and look at it. He was a featured speaker there. And what he did was he spoke on the clanism and the bigotry that was in martial arts. Because you're old enough to know that if you studied a certain particular type of martial art when you were coming up during the time we were coming up, that's what you had to study.
Yeah, I want to interject that racism is permeated throughout the martial art world. Definitely a lot of right-wing thinking And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there are those that go over the top on that,
Yeah.
as well as a lot of leftists, far left thinking as well. One of the things that I know coming up, because I came up, back in the 70s, I came up back then, that there was a lot of stereotypical racism back then.
Yes.
And the BKF actually, if you think about it, BKF actually changed the scenario on that, because prior to like 65, blacks weren't winning championships.
Absolutely.
So that's just something I just wanted to kind of throw in there to kind of back up what you were talking, because I know that you really are sharp. You're on top of the history as well.
Yeah, Coach Willis started a police karate organization, which is the first karate organization in Central Virginia, and he took a lot of flack for training police officers. Because within the black community, they didn't think that they needed another weapon to deal with it. Because you got to understand, this is the early 70s, and racism, still racism, For people that don't know, there's a place called Colonial Heights, and Colonial Heights, when I was a kid, Colonial Heights.
Yeah.
But Colonial Heights, you couldn't go there as a black person.
Yeah.
Unless your ability to travel ended at the border of Petersburg between Colonial Heights. And they had a little shopping center. You could go there, but anytime after hours, you knew you were going to get harassed and the police were going to bother you and everything. Like, it was a racist community. And people got mad with him. This is the reason why you never hear him as one of the greatest martial artists. But his philosophy behind it was a simple thing. He said, if I can teach them how to subdue people without harming them, then that's better for our community, because right now they're killing us.
Right. Like they're doing now. Yeah.
Yeah. So his thing was, okay, I'll train them better, so they don't kill us. It's not going to change their personality, anything like that, but it is going to improve the condition from us, because a beating is far better than being killed.
Right.
So he had quite a few contributions. I was lucky enough through the things that I did. I founded Ministry of Defense, man.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that, but I just wanted to kind of get that background. And Coach Willis was from the Oyama background. Am I correct? I mean, I know he had other things too, like wrestling and boxing and stuff too. But as far as karate, he's from the Oyama background, which I was just going to interject a little bit of history on that, is that at that time, the Oyama school, they were the badasses. They were the guys that you had to beat, because those dudes would like literally take blows from you and to see who had the strongest body. That's one of the disciplines that I know quite a few brothers from California went through. But the difference between you and them is that you expanded it into different things. And I know this for a fact, because I remember the first day I met you. You remember the first day I met you?
Yeah.
You was showing Danny Boy something in the karate magazine, and I went up and asked you questions. You didn't want to answer no questions.
Yeah, I remember.
So you
know me, man. I was trying to keep it low profile and low key.
Yeah. You actually the one taught me my ground game too, and to this day, a lot of guys don't know I have a ground game, because you pretty much told me to keep it a secret, which I did for 20-something years. But
well, that philosophy came from my father.
Yeah.
And my father, you got to understand that my father came up in extremely racist time, long before I was born, and he was in the military, and the military was extremely racist.
Yeah.
He was told by his commanding officer, "Don't think you special because you're a nigga to speak another language." So when I was growing up, my father let me know, you're Puerto Rican, but don't think that means anything. It just means that the ship stopped there first before it came into the United States. That's all. So his attitude about all of that was very specific in the way he addressed it and the way he taught me. So a lot of the things I wasn't aware of that he taught me, and he taught me in a very subtle way. And I guess this is the island way of teaching, which I didn't know that I absorbed. It was actually Coach Willis that made me reflect inward to notice some of the things, because this question became, okay, why, your father's, Spanish, right? He's Puerto Rican, right? I said, yeah. He said, well, why haven't you, explored, your own culture's martial history? And I said, I didn't know that they had.
You see, and I'm glad you went, because I wanted to lead you into that, because I want you to talk to us about Cuerpos Fuertes, which is the style that you taught me as well. And I want you to talk about, because a lot of people are not familiar with the Puerto Rican martial arts.
Well, they don't believe it exists, but that's the same thing that they said about martial arts in the African community. When I first started writing articles on it, they told me that, I was lying, that it didn't exist, although we have, centuries of culture of black martial arts, coming over from the islands and from Africa over with us. We was told that, I was told that it didn't exist, even though I had the evidence. So with Cuerpos Fuertes, I was very sick when I was a kid, and I was so sick to the point where they thought I was going to die. My mother had been told, they said if he lives past the age of 5 or 6 years old, then he got a chance. But we don't know. So Cuerpos Fuertes, the best way that I can give it to people to try to get them an understanding was an overall. Well, I'll tell you what. If you've heard of Iron Body,
yeah, you taught me Iron Body. Remember?
Yeah, that would be the closest that you could come to it from another culture, because what he taught me was he taught me advanced breathing techniques and how to breathe, because I couldn't breathe. So he taught me advanced breathing techniques. He taught me advanced relaxation techniques, and most of all, what he taught me was the Puerto Rican concept of pain and how to psychologically deal with something that had a physical impetus. And I became really grateful for that, because I've had quite a few injuries, and I've been in more than my fair share of fights, and I still got a crack in my skull.
Tell me about it, bro. I remember those days. Yeah.
I still got it in there, but I don't believe that I would have made it. And it was the melding between Coach Willis and the way he did things and the way my father's philosophy was, because when we trained in Virginia State, nothing was off limit. Well, you trained karate basically. You trained Kyokushinkai when you first got there. But after class was over, there was after class studies. Then in after class studies, we were exposed to taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, boxing, you name it. If a person had a level of expertise in it, they exposed us to it. So it gave me a wide understanding of combat from an envelope period, not just, I'm Japanese stylist, and that's all I do. I'm Chinese, and that's all I do.
You actually got me out of that. Remember when you first met me, I was a Japanese stylist, so that's where I was staying until you literally got me out of that. And this is the thing I think is a drawback for a lot of people in the martial arts. When you're training, you get so caught up in your teacher, you begin to become a cult. You begin to not want to actually explore what's outside of your teacher. And the purpose of a teacher, and this is how I did my students when I had students. The purpose of my students was, okay, dude, just don't take my word for it. Go out there and explore other people. And that's what you used to do. That's what you did with me. And at first, I resisted because I was traditional, until I came to an understanding that there really is no traditional martial arts in the world. You got to be over 2,000 or 3,000 years old before you're actually traditional. And how many styles can you actually name is 2,000 or 3,000 years old? They can trace their roots back that far, but definitely, if
one of the major contributors to me as a martial artist was conversation that I had with Grandmaster Willis.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had a strange relationship, because I never was in class, because I was doing things, let's just say, that I had no business doing. And had he known that, I probably took some big ass for some of the stuff that I was doing. So I didn't come to class because I didn't want some of the other extracurricular activities I was engaged in to come to him. But when I moved to the DMV, near Washington, D.C. When I first moved up there, up to that point, I had Coop, Coop, my partner, him.
Yeah,
And
you guys been together since you were in what, grade school?
elementary, well, not elementary, what you would call middle school, man.
Yeah, you guys known each other forever, bro.
And we had a laboratory, and we would go out and go to different places and explore the teaching and bring it back to the lab and try it out and see if it worked. If it worked, we kept it. If we didn't. So...
You mean we use the experiment on me?
Yeah. Hey, you kept coming. You understand?
Yeah.
Padawan. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much was like that. Padawan, Obi-Wan, the Padawan.
Yeah, you kept coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can tell a story about how you Shaw brothered me. You can tell the people, they might find that amusing.
I'd rather for you to tell it, because you tell the stories. Man, I can't tell a story like you guys.
Listen, okay, people. This is what happened. I was absolutely not looking for any students. My sensei was a very low-key individual. He didn't want the spotlight. He didn't want the commercial acclaim. He wasn't interested in awards and all that good stuff. His main interest is, can I make the community better? Can I make better people? I don't want to make better fighters. I want to make better people that can fight. And I put them back in the community with a certain particular mindset, and they'll be beneficial to whatever community that I put them in. They'll be better people. And, I was really not trying, other than when you came along, the only people I trained was family members. I didn't train anybody else. And I wasn't interested in training anybody else. Nobody, as a matter of fact, where we worked at, I don't believe anybody knew I had a martial arts background because I didn't advertise it, and I didn't go about it.
Well, I think Danny Boy knew, and I knew, and the only reason I knew is because I noticed you kept showing Danny Boy techniques. In the magazine, you wouldn't actually come out and show it without saying, okay, he's showing them, dude, he teaches Danny Boy martial arts. Danny Boy don't even know it. Like I kind of recognized that. And that's why, and I was interested because of the way I threw a side kick and the way you described a side kick. I was like, you know what? That's actually a lot more powerful than the side kick I would have thrown. And that's how I got interested in what you were doing.
Well, my expertise comes, unlike a lot of people, it comes from some tremendous ass beats. I've had my ass beat by some of the best fighters that you can imagine. And, my most telling defeat is I got jumped by a gang and I got beat by 15 guys. And if not for a guy pulling me out the middle of the fight, they probably would have killed me.
Yeah, you probably would have ended up, because 15 dudes, that's a beating, bro. That's a death sentence, actually.
Well, they made a mistake because it became a goal. Since I became aware that 15 guys would jump on your ass, beat the hell out you, it became a goal to be able to beat at least 15 guys.
Yeah.
So when I moved to North Virginia, that was during the early years when crack cocaine was just hitting the area. And man, let me tell you, they talk about the Wild Wild West. Wild Wild West was nothing like this, man. There were murders every day. And I mean, when I say murders, I mean stuff that you just couldn't identify. Why would you kill another human being like that? Murders that was so ridiculous. Like a young lady worked down the street from, I used to walk down to the Roy Rogers. Roy Rogers is about half a mile from where I lived in. I used to walk down to the Roy Rogers sometime to get something to eat. And this young lady worked at the Target that sit right behind the Roy Rogers. So she got out from work one day early, and her brother was supposed to pick her up. They couldn't because he hadn't got out from work, so she decided to catch the bus. Okay? Later on down the road, her brother comes to get her. Nobody knows where the young lady at. 3 days later, they found her behind a bank in Washington, D.C. with a throat cut. You understand?
Yeah.
So I remember I used to get up in the morning. I worked for the Federal Highway Administration. And you know me, I'm always testing myself.
Yeah.
I used to walk to the bus stop with my eyes closed to memorize my steps and my direction and everything like that. So that means that I had a heightened sense of awareness when I went there. So when I walked in the dark and anything, it really didn't disturb me. You know what I mean? It didn't cause me to fear. And I can remember one morning, man, at about 5:30 in the morning, the sun hadn't even begun to peek over the horizon. And this guy was sitting on the curb, man, and he jumped up on me, man. And boy, that's probably one of the fastest beatings I ever given anybody in my life, man. I had that guy out in the middle of the street, man, until he started screaming, and I recognized, he was just as scared as I was. He was sitting on the side of the road, and I apologized to him, And, I let him know, man, this wasn't nothing personal. You just scared the hell out of me. So he started laughing, picked himself up, He said, well, I know not that when you come down the goddamn sidewalk, I know not to fucking say nothing. The next time you come back.
Well, let me talk about this. You really had some really practical experiences that kind of shaped your martial arts, and also the background, your island background in Puerto Rico, and all the other arts that you train. Now, here's the thing, though. What I always was in awe about was how you came up with the idea of Ministry of Defense, MOD. And I really want to talk more about that because I want to talk more about your professional career as a security professional. But let's start first, before you go to MOD, let's talk about your school. Because you went to one of the top security schools in the United States. You're one of the few African Americans that's done that, and then you have gotten no recognition for that.
Well, I like I told you, I attended Executive Security International. For those that don't know, it's the only, as far as I know, the only professional bodyguard college in the United States. And they have a program, you can actually get into their degree program and get a college degree from ESI. And they're preeminent and exceptionally well known, And I went to school with them, but what happened was, the reason I went to ESI was because I got tapped to do a security detail for a high-risk client because of my martial arts background. And I did the best I could, but I recognized the fact that my skills were not up to par. And, the idea of exposing somebody, because at the time this man had 5 attempts on his life, and he was coming to speak at Virginia Commonwealth University. And, I said, I have a person's life in my hand, and I don't want to lose it.
Was that the detail that I hired you to do?
Yes,
absolutely. That was the Hakeem Quick? That the Shiites were trying to kill him?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember that. Yeah. Because you went to school like a month after that, a couple of months after that.
Yes, I did. As soon as I came out of there, I recognized, I'm a person that I've always known my limitations. I know what I can and cannot do, and I'm honest about it. So when I looked at overall what my qualification was to preserve the human life, I said, I ain't got it. I could beat the hell out of somebody. I can even throw you out the window or do a couple of other choice things to you too. But I don't know how to be a professional in this field and protect you from the other professionals that seek in your life. So that's where ESI came in. And I ended up graduated from ESI, and I ended up being the only, as far as I know now, it may have changed, it's been some years, I ended up being the only ESI personnel to teach an ESI class outside of the campus in Aspen, Colorado. I taught at John Tyler Community College. And what I did was, as an adjunct faculty member, I taught how to apply lessons on observational psychology and protection that I learned in ESI to people that were homeowners.
Right.
So that was actually my class there. And
well, I remember that incident. I remember that it wasn't an incident. I remember that detail. And to be honest with you, the only issue we really had was the guys that we had with us they didn't want to. They weren't disciplined. They didn't want to do what they were told most of the time. Other than that, though, you had it under control because once you let them know how you felt, You know, and see what they don't understand is that the energy that you project when you get dead serious, they felt that day. You know, so yeah, that was the only issue that was going on with that detail, man. You were actually perfect.
I'm always seeking to get better. My instructor told me that as long as you live, you move like the river. You continue to flow. He said when the river gets blocked and it can't move no more, it becomes stagnant. And I didn't want to become stagnant. So I was always trying to expand myself and get into different things and learn different things, but not necessarily considered to be martial arts. It's when I started, I always been a firearms guy, you know that. But when I started to blend martial arts discipline and philosophy into firearms training, nobody else was doing that.
Yeah, and just for everybody in the audience, all you brothers and sisters out there, me and my man pro gun, we straight up pro gun, most definitely. I'm gonna tell y'all something, man. This is my deal. Y'all want to give up y'all guns if you want to. Guess what? The white supremacists and nationalists ain't giving up their guns. Trust me. And they've been talking about shooting us, and they try to get bolder and bolder. My whole thing is, if you got some, you got gun laws in place, you just don't enforce them.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? You got background checks, you got all that already in place. They just not enforced.
Well, they don't want to. Well, see, here's my thing. I'm a dude that I studied the Constitution. I'm still in school now. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still in school. And as a part of my course load, I go to Regent University, and I'm majoring in law and national security, which I'm getting ready to go from my junior to my senior year. And amongst the things that I had studied was the Constitution. And gun control laws are illegal. The Constitution is the law of the land.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is, gun control is not about controlling the gun. It's about controlling the person.
The person, yeah.
You have, if you look at the history of gun control started during slavery because slaves were not allowed to own firearms. Slaves were not allowed to own firearms, and they were not allowed to fight back.
And if you fast forward into the 50s and 60s, a lot of blacks wasn't they actually intentionally sold rifles. They usually were sold shotguns.
Absolutely.
You know, usually African Americans were sold the weapon that had the shorter range.
Of course they
did. You know,
so... Well, see, my thing about it overall is this. All people are people. I accept all people being who they are. But I also accept among that fact that every person is not going to like you, and some people are going to like you or dislike you for the most ignorant things like color.
Yeah.
You understand, your ethnicity is something that you can't do anything about it, and you wear that with you wherever you go. So that's the most ignorant thing, that you can hate me for, But I do know one thing for sure, and I'll say this to anybody. I've never heard of a racist killing an armed black man or a black female.
No. Me neither. I mean, it could have happened, but, it probably would. If it did happen, I bet you that racist got shot, too.
Well, here's the thing, man. I tell people, because, I'm a firearms instructor, too, and have been for a number of years. And I teach primarily our people because these are the people that really need to be taught. And I tell them, I said, if you have the lawful ability to carry a firearm, and you don't, and something, atrocity happens in front of you, then you're just a witness.
Yeah.
You can't intervene. You can't help anybody. You can't save a life.
That's true.
You understand what I'm saying?
That's true.
I'll put it out there this way. The people on the sidewalk when George Floyd was being killed, all of them recognized the fact that this man was being murdered. But none of them would do anything because the racists had the gun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if for no other reason than to save that man's life, there had been one gun present, it would have changed the complexion of all of that.
Yeah, and you're talking about just being present. You're not talking about nobody pulling it.
You don't have to do anything to anybody.
That's true.
Just to let them know that you're committed, you're aware of what they're doing, you're committed to protection. Look at it this way. Everybody knows the history at least everybody should know the history of the Black Panthers in the United States. And you know that they were systematically assassinated by the FBI through the Pointel program. And the reason why California is so restrictive on gun control, because it was actually NRA in California that founded the gun control laws in California so that black people couldn't have firearms.
And that was because of the Reagan and Black Panther incident on that campus. I remember that. That was back in what, 1964, something, 66?
Well, up to that time, California was an open carry state.
Yeah. Yeah, it was.
You know, Dave Chappelle said something that I thought was poignant, and this is something for people to think about. He said in his special Sticks and Stones, he said, I advise every black person that's able to legally own a firearm to get one, you know, and learn how to use it. And he said that's the only way we'll have gun control in the United States.
He's right. I think he's right. Was if the scales are balanced, you know, it's like anything else. Even with the nuclear, back in the days when they had the nuclear Cold War.
Yeah, mutually assured destruction.
Mutually assured destruction usually keeps a person at home, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You know, and it's unfortunate because you know me. I love people. I've been in the ministry for over 20 years. And, you know, I love people, period. And I don't like to see the type of things that are going on, but I'm a realist above all of that, and I recognize the fact that whether I choose to believe or not, we have enemies of our community that don't wish us well. And for the people that's friends and whatnot, you know, I love them like I love everybody else. You understand? But I'm not foolish enough to consider that all people that say that they're my allies and that they're my friends are my friend. I'm a cautious individual. That's the reason why I stay such a low profile and I don't really mess with a lot of different people. Because I can't be assured of your... I'm an older guy, man. I can't be assured of your motives, and I can't do it like that.
Well, I agree with you, my brother. So that's okay. So that gets up to where you came up with the concept of Minister of Defense. And then we're going to talk about your book, man. I find your book rather interesting because it's so simply written that it's complex. I recognize a lot of concepts in it, but I'm quite sure that this is going to be a deep read for a lot of people. But let's talk about MOD first.
MOD came by accident. Okay? I was going to a church called Living Waters Christian Fellowship, and I was a member of the security detail team. And I was sick, you know. Because of my, you know, my type 2 diabetes was so crazy then that I was suffering blindness. I couldn't see. And one of the members of the leadership of the security team came to me and said, "Hey, man, you know, you got this background with all this information, and we're looking for a training program to train new guys or new women when we bring them into the team." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "Well, can you know, put together a little pamphlet or booklet and whatnot that we can use as a guideline for training the people?" And I said, "Sure." So, you know, I started working, and as I started working on the book, you know, things would come to me, and I was like, you know, they're not going to understand if I don't explain it this way, because I took it into consideration that I'm dealing with people in the ministry in the church. And I started doing it and everything like that, and I started working on it every day, and I never considered that it would become a thing. And, you know, one day, you know, it came to me, you know, just like the Holy Spirit spoke to me and said, "Do a page count." And I did a page count, and I had, I do believe, 87 or 89 pages written. And I said, "Good Lord." I said, "That's not a booklet, that's a book."
Yeah.
And the Spirit encouraged me to continue to write it.
But you had a book in you all the time.
Well, you know me, man. Me and you go back, you know, I used to write stories. You know, I have a crazy mentality when it comes to writing stories. I don't write stories like everybody else does. And I used to write them for you guys. And After I wrote them, I used to throw those stories away, man.
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, man, I don't know why he ain't publishing these stories. He driving me crazy. I'm trying to get published. Like he got people asking you got people asking you to get your stuff published. I'm talking about editors. I'm not talking about just lay people.
Well, at the time they were only mental exercises for me to sharpen my mental game. I wasn't looking at it, as a source of income or anything like that. It just, was something fun for my friends, Hey, what do you think about this, And my premises were so unique that even to this day, I've never seen anybody address some of the premises that I actually wrote about.
Yeah, and it's something that basically is something that actually was pretty predominant in your area too. A lot of people kind of went to you for training and to set up their security at their places of worship. Am I correct?
Yeah, I did quite a few people. I became an underground success. I trained quite a few ministries.
Why did you? Now, when you were applying this to ministries, you were not particularly talking about just protecting one denomination, were you?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So basically, what I don't want you to give up your secret, so I want you to kind of tell me what kind of systematic order does it come up in as far as the personnel? What do you train them in? Are the training intense, or are you just training them to restrain people?
Their training can go all the way from crowd control to firearms, tactics, and other training.
Okay, and you identify certain positions for that type of training. Am I correct? Like deacons, not the deacons. Deacons are pretty much leadership, but trustees, stuff like that.
Yeah, crows, contact resolution officers, and observers, and there's a lot of different things that you do in it, because when you train people for ministry, the most important aspect, and this is what everybody's getting at, everybody offers a ministry protection program, but it's all wrong. And I'll be the one to tell you that, because they don't stress ministry first.
Okay, so and when you say don't stress ministry first, what do you mean by that?
Well, they think that they can transfer police tactics or military tactics or security tactics into the church without editing them, and that's incorrect.
Okay, when you say editing what, the attitudes or the culture?
Well, both. Because I will go so far as to say that, and people are going to disagree with me and they ain't going to like what I said, but, many police officers are not suited for a Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Defense Protection, because they come from a culture that would not allow them, to exhibit compassion. The average police officer deals with strength only, and knowing that I have to submit this, individual. This person has to follow my instructions, and this, that, and the other. And that's fine for their occupation, but not for ministry.
But here's I'm gonna push back just a little bit on that. I mean, I kind of somewhat agree with you that it's aggression, but it's an aggression that's based on the lack of self-esteem. There's a spiritual emptiness there.
Well, see,
you know what I'm saying? Because
this is what I found. Because I've had issues with doing my training with guys that are police officers, and they want to tell me how long they've been trained. That's fine, and I look at them and I respect the training that they had.
Well, I remember what you did to that one cop when he was a Marine and he became a cop, and then he tried to get you in some kind of hole, and you put your fingers up his nose and yanked his head. Yeah. You did something that he had his fingers like locked up in his nose. I was like, oh my God. So he had the same attitude. Well,
here's the thing, and this is the reason why I said and when I talk about editing, you have to exercise ministry first, and comforting and welcoming all of the things in ministry. There's not a ministry on earth that does not stress these things. If you see a ministry and it does not stress, kindness toward others, philanthropy and different things like that, then you need to get out. You understand what I'm saying? But the problem is in the translation.
Mm-hmm.
So the translation becomes, because you're not like me, you don't believe what I believe, then you're automatically my enemy, and that's not true. With the ministry of defense, I teach people to respect other people's defense and all of their opinions and their beliefs. Because what I tell people is this: okay, you're called to be ministers of Christ, and what better way to be a minister of Christ is to go into a person who's, totally against what you believe in, and at the same time, you go in there and teach them how to make their community more secure and more safe, so that their men, women, and children can live in peace. That's a Christ-like act.
Yeah. That's true. And it's interesting that you say that, because a lot of people have lost that. You can see the people are invoking Christ on TV, and they're invoking the things that the devil would do. It's like, it's interesting.
Well, you know what I told you.
Mm-hmm.
You just go back years and years ago. Those are not Christian.
Yeah, you did tell me that. You did tell me. Okay. So Roland Martin saying the same thing. He said they're white televangelists.
Well, here's the thing. They're more akin to Father Divine or Reverend Ike than they are to Christ.
Mm-hmm.
Because this is a money scam. In my life, I've known guys that were big drug dealers, and they were also ordained ministers, because there was a way for them to hide their money.
True.
Without the Internal Revenue touching.
True that.
So don't play me. You know what I mean? You gotta be, like the man used to say, play Monopoly. You got better odds.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. So when you structured it, well, let's talk about your career as a trainer too. I mean, because you've done some training. You done trained some good fighters.
Yeah, I a lot of my guys, you wouldn't know it just like you, because they keep confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning they don't go around and tell everybody, "Oh, that's the teacher right there." This, that, and other. No.
Well, I think it has a lot to do with character too, because I remember you taught me all this stuff like 20 years ago, and when I went to LA to open up my school, I didn't teach it at all, because you told me 20 years prior to that not to teach it, and I didn't. I never taught it. To this day, I probably won't teach it unless the student shows me he's special, and I haven't really run into a student that has showed me that they're that special. But
I don't. You know me, man. I don't have 10,000 students or anything like I never tried to get that. But each individual student that I have has their own personality, and they're of high quality as human beings.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story, dude. You remember when I was always in the belts, right? And you broke me out of that. And they'll tell you how you broke me out of that. I was so fucking mad at your ass about this shit. I said, dude, you gonna give me rank in this one. Like, remember I kept bothering you to give me rank? So you wrote a note. You took a piece of paper and a pencil and wrote a note. You've been promoted to instructor here. I was so mad at you, dude. I was like, if I could kick his ass, I know I can't. I would kick his ass.
Well, I was trying to make a point.
No, you made that point, because then after about a day or so, I was like, you know what, it really ain't that important. And I just tore the darn note up and threw it away.
So my instructor was a very wise man. When I was younger, he asked me, "What do you want? Do you want the belt or the friendship?"
Yeah, and that's the biggest. See, this is the thing that I'm having a problem with now. I don't even kind of claim my rank anymore, because I'm looking at all these guys, and I'm probably going to catch some heat if anybody's listening to this podcast. But I'm going to probably catch some heat for this opinion. But my opinion is, what the hell is a Supreme Grandmaster? You feel me?
Oh, that's the Grand Imperial Poobah.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like the belt thing got to the point where it's just totally fucking ridiculous. I'm sorry about my language, but it's ridiculous. Supreme Grand. I would not call another man Supreme Grandmaster. I'll call you Master because you mastered your art. I might even call you Grandmaster because you got a few masters under you. But Supreme, nah. Huh?
It's my teacher's philosophy. There's no way to master martial arts. You just can't do it.
No, it's a lifetime thing, and it changes constantly.
So where you were at when I trained you, you're not there anymore.
No.
So if I made you a Grand Master or anything like that, and I gave you rank like that, in my system, what does it really mean? Because you're no longer there.
That makes a point. That's a good point. That's a good point.
See, you're gonna progress, and you're gonna continue to learn. You're gonna learn from me. You're gonna learn from life. And this is the thing that's very important as a martial artist. You don't just learn. You understand from everybody else that you're equal. You learn from your students.
Yeah, you do. You do.
You have to.
I've learned a lot from a lot of my students. Quite a bit. I mean, I've learned some negative stuff and some positive stuff from them. Like, you're dealing with personalities.
Let me tell you something. If I'm the Supreme Imperial Grand Poobah, I'm on such a high level, you can never seek to reach me no matter what you do. And that means that our teaching must always occur downhill. I must always teach down to you. But if I would just bend my knees and humble myself and get eye to eye to you, I can benefit from your life experiences.
Yeah.
And I can learn from your life experiences, and along the way, I can improve myself as well.
You got your camera on, or is it off?
I think it just went off. Hold on.
Yeah, cut it back on. There you go.
Am I back?
Yeah, there we are. That's the ticket.
Yeah, but that's the thing that people miss out. You miss on the two-way relationship with students. What people don't understand is you've been with me longer than anybody else except family members, but we didn't always see eye to eye.
No.
You understand what I'm saying?
No, we didn't.
But that was fine because I told you to seek your own path. I did not want, and I have no students that look like me. They don't. No students fight like I do. And that would be a shame if I did have students. I've had them try, but your body and
that's the first thing I actually. No, actually, I think that's the third thing I learned from you when we were training. You said something that made so much sense to me because I kept trying to mimic you. Remember?
Yeah.
And you told me, you said, "Why are you trying to rain down from the sky when you're short?" And then you made the example of Ed Parker. He said Ed Parker rains down from the sky because he's 6 feet 2-something pounds.
Yeah.
He said, but you gotta figure out where you're gonna rain, and necessarily it may not be raining down; it might be raining up. And that made a lot of sense to me because I was like, and I actually adapted my fighting style to that. I know I'm not over 6 feet tall. I can't come from the sky, but I could definitely come from below or even with you.
Well, we were taught to develop things we didn't have. Like, I was a big dude. You know that.
You was huge, bro. I remember that time you hit me. I was so bad I called you the N-word. Because that hurt, bro.
I was about 260 to 275, but I was primarily muscle.
Yeah, I remember you was like this guy. I would look at you and I was like, how am I going to spar that? Like, because I was a little dude. I was in shape. I was tight. I was, in decent shape, but I was one of those little skinny dudes. Like it wasn't stringy, but it was muscle, but it was small. You know what I'm saying? Hello? Did we freeze, brother? You okay? Looks like we got a little technical difficulty, ladies and gentlemen. Pablo. Well, while he's trying to figure that out, let's talk about a few things here. Uh, this show is not an Anansi Reed show, but it is a different show based primarily on, like I said, black professionals. Going to be doing a lot of historical stuff. We're going to be chopping it up, talking about other stuff too. And it looks like something happened on us here. Looks like we've been disconnected. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause just a little bit for the show here and hold tight. Okay, we had a little technical difficulty, but we back at my brother Pablo's here. Whatever, I may have to start changing from Zoom to something else. I got Skype, but I'm not sure if Skype is that good either. But yeah, let's talk some more about where we left off here. I don't recall where we left off though.
I think what we were talking about was we went through martial arts, as projected and whatnot. But that all of my accolades or whatever anybody gives me came from experience.
That's true.
Nobody gave me a leg up or anything like that because I didn't want it, and I didn't want the cost that would allow based on how martial arts is. Martial arts is a funny thing, man, where it's pretty much favors, and I don't do favors.
Yeah, it's actually it has become a really, really good old boy network. But there are some good masters out there. I mean, the Shelton Moreland is one of them. Brother Krieger from BKF is one of them. Omar Muhammad, he's a good brother. So you still have good brothers who are serious about the martial arts and are really trying to represent it correctly. My problem is usually with the martial art police. You know what I'm talking about. All these guys that take it upon themselves to police up other martial artists. Me personally, I don't care what anybody else is doing. Because when you're a fake master or a fake martial artist, it comes out anyway. You ain't got to hunt these cats down. These cats always reveal themselves. So my whole point is why are you wasting time not building your brand and you trying to destroy everybody else's?
Well, here's my thing. You were with me in some of them days. Let's put it like that. You could talk shit to me, but if you talk shit long enough, you'll have to get your ass on the mat.
Yeah, I recall that you doing that several times. I had to do it a couple of times myself. I mean, I had to do it a couple of times myself, and especially that time when I dealt with that guy in the street. That day I had to call you. I had to call you up.
About that because I told you not to do that.
Yeah, but you know something, brother, the guy kind of asked for it, so he just got what he asked for. But at the same time, I knew I was in trouble because I paid for it during that last practice. But yeah, man. So
your only was experimentation. You was a small guy with a Napoleon complex, and you had to do stuff to people to prove that it worked. I was like, dude, do not experiment on people with this. You're going to jail.
Yeah, and I actually was very lucky, bro. I never did go to jail, never got in trouble. Nobody ever called the cops on me. I was blessed like that. But, my whole thing, too, is at the time, I knew that, a blessing can be run. You could run out of blessings, too. So I slowed down, Now, I wanted to also mention something before the show was over with, that Pablo Birriels is a recipient of the Masters Hall of Fame in California. Is it Daniel Heck? Daniel Heck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Masters Hall of Fame. He had a nice little interview with a sister by the name of Michelle Manu. Okay, Michelle Manu. And this is around about this time is when everybody found out that I was his head student. So, and you know what? Ever since then, man, the politics is kind of like slowed down. Everybody wants to talk to me now.
Oh, of course, they want what you got.
I ain't got nothing to give them.
When somebody wants something that you got, and you're the only way to get it, they'll do whatever they can to get it. You know what I mean? They tried everything they could to seduce me. I ain't gonna call no names and anything like that. But I was promised a lot of stuff when I was in California, you know.
But that's the issue. The issue is, here's the thing you gotta always understand about the culture on the West Coast. They're gonna promise you a lot of stuff, and they're gonna come through with 1%, maybe. See, that's the thing about that culture there. It's they're not bad people, but they'll say they're gonna do something. They don't think nothing of it when they don't get it done. You know what I'm saying? In the meantime, you be stuck there on that side of the country teaching. They got you right where they want you. You know what I'm saying?
Man, you know, my thing is, you can't offer me something that I don't need.
True that. And that's the most profound thing I've heard somebody say all day. So,
you know what I mean? It's not necessary. It doesn't benefit me. You understand? It doesn't add to my skill level, my experience, and my understanding. So, I don't need it.
Okay, so we got approximately 4 minutes, my brother, and I'm gonna do a part 2 on this. Okay, so the second show I want to interview you because we're not finished talking, bro. You got a lot of information to partake to people. So I got one final question for you. Okay. Where do you see Ricky Bo when me and you are gone? Because you know we the elder statesmen. We ain't gonna be here long.
Well, Ricky Bo is in good hands. I got 3 kids and a nephew.
Yeah.
And my nephew doesn't choose to teach, but trust me, he's more than capable of doing whatever he needs to do. So is my oldest son.
Well, he was your first student, right? I'm your second student. He was your very first student. He was a little boy when you got him.
Junior, I started teaching when I was in Northern Virginia, living with his parents, and he was a little bitty boy. And I started teaching him so we wouldn't get booked.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're gonna go ahead on and end the show right here. But we're going to do a part 2, bro, because I'm not finished interviewing you or talking to you. So
man, no problem, man. You know where to find me.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and let you go, man. You know I love you, man. I love you like a brother. I always will. And we're going to talk some more, man, because I want to get your name out there with these professionals, brother.
I love you back, bro.
All right, my brother. Love you. Talk to you later. All right, that was Pablo Birriels, my teacher. I did have another teacher by the name of Charles Dixon who taught me the traditional martial arts, and I will always be grateful for that gentleman. However, this is a gentleman that actually taught me how to fight. I mean, literally how to fight. He has a book called The 7 Laws of Combat. It's on Kindle right now. You can get it Kindle. You can get it from the Kindle Fire, or you can get it hardback, or you could get it softback. It's the nucleus of our system that we trained over 40 years now to perfect. I'm going to be doing a part 2 with this brother because, like I said, he has a lot of knowledge of firearms, weapons. He has a lot of knowledge of security. And this show is an informal show. It's not. We don't write scripts. We just talk. You know, we talk from our experiences. We talk from. We just chop it up like brothers. So if you're listening to the show, you don't like the format and understand. However, this is how we deal with things. We don't do things formally. We do things informally in this show. Another thing, the next announcement is we've got a cooking show coming up, and I will not give you the date or the time of the show yet because I'm still negotiating with the gentleman. How we're going to be talking about the process. And I think you're going to love him. I'm not going to tell you what kind of food he cooks, but I think you're going to love the brother. So, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead on and leave you guys with this. God bless everybody. And don't get upset too much in these day and times. Let's find something to laugh at. Let's sing. Let's just have some fun, folks. God bless everybody, and good day.